So, how can we prevent an HIE injury at birth? A lot of times we get this question from families who contact us and their baby has suffered an HIE injury, and the discussion is, well, usually from mothers, it's going to be, well, what could I have done? What could I have done to prevent this? Was it something that I did wrong? And a lot of times for families, they have never even heard of this term HIE there because it doesn't happen a lot. And because it doesn't happen a lot of times families just don't have a lot of information on it. And I want to talk with you today about what can be done to reduce the risk of an injury like this occurring. Now, first of all, before I get too deep into this video, you have to understand that me as a birth injury, a birth trauma attorney, I talk with a lot of families about these types of issues. And first of all, you've got to realize that in some instances, there's just not going to be anything that can be done to prevent the injury or to reduce the risk of the injury occurring. And that is because sometimes genetic and sometimes developmental issues can be present through no fault of anyone. These issues can just come up and they can lead a baby to suffer a traumatic brain injury. In the context of HIE, what we're working with is a reduction of oxygenated blood, which can lead a baby to suffer a traumatic brain injury. And I'm going to break this video down into two sections. And in the first section, I want to talk about what families can do to try to work to reduce the risk of their baby suffering a traumatic brain injury. And the second part is going to be for medical professionals on the medical legal side. First of all, I know this sounds so simple. I know it sounds easy, but it is for families to make sure that you stay current and you stay up on your doctor's visits and your doctor's appointments. You'll be surprised how many people will blow off some of their visits. Well, I don't think I need to go this week, or I'm not going to follow up. Don't do that. Stay current if you can with your medical visits. And the reason this is important is because what it will allow you to do is it will allow you to voice your concerns or ask questions of your medical professionals through this process. And by you asking questions and by you being able to be seen by your doctors, they're keeping track of what you have going on. So let's say, for example, you notice there's a decrease in fetal movement. That is something that doctors and medical professionals, they need to know that so they can be able to advise accordingly and take necessary actions when things like this show up. So first of all, you just want to make sure that you stay current with your medical visits. Number two is to create a birthing plan. Create a birthing plan. And within that plan, you want to make sure that you take some time and think about not only your pregnancy, but labor and delivery. What do you want to occur? You want to take some time and really think about this process. In addition to putting together your birthing plan, make sure that you also note in your plan, have an idea of who do you want to be in accompanying you through this process. When you go, maybe some of your doctor's appointments, maybe you want someone to go with you, or during labor and delivery, that's always a good idea. If you can have either your significant other or you can have a close family friend or someone to come in with you, just take some time to think about your birthing plan and be sure to share some of the key points of your plan. Make sure you share those also with the people who are going to be accompanying you, because they can also advocate for you during this process. It may become a time where you for whatever reason, you may not be able to advocate as forcefully as need be, but you have these individuals in with you because they understand what you want, what you're trying to accomplish. They can also advocate for you. Now I'm going to move to the doctors on the medical legal side. For doctors, a lot of times that what we find when we are going through these cases and we're doing these investigations for families, what we find is that there are misreads on the electronic fetal heart monitor. Taking the time to read and pay attention to what's happening with that monitor, that can also reduce the risk of a traumatic brain injury occurring. Because like I said, what we can see is misreads of the monitor. And when that happens, then certain things or certain flags that are present, they're overlooked, and then the diagnosis doesn't happen. And when you don't have a diagnosis, you can't treat. So being able to read the monitor the right way, that can go a long way to help reduce the chance of an HIE injury occurring. The second thing I want to talk about with medical professionals is listening to your patient. That is just so important. You'd be surprised how many times we talk to families. It is, I just don't think the doctors, they weren't listening to me. I had this going on. They were trying to blow off my concerns. And especially for our Black clients, it's something that we hear. It's that medical professionals just are not listening. That can either be the nurses or that can either be the doctors, just not taking the time to listen to their patients. That can go a long way when you're listening to be able to reduce the chance of an HIE type of injury occurring. And number three, the last thing is going to be, this is specifically for nurses. It's not enough to just say, well, the doctor did this or the doctor did that, and we just went with it. Nurses have their own independent duty. They have their own understanding of the standard of care. They go to school for this. They understand how to read the readings on the electronic fetal heart monitor. They're supposed to be able to understand these types of issues and to be able to help their patients when certain things arise. So for nurses, it is to be sure in the right situations to be able to move through your chain of command if it's looking like the doctors and the doctors are not either paying attention or they are deviating from the standard of care in regards to what is going on with this patient. If you have more questions, maybe you're here today watching this video because your baby has suffered an HIE injury and you have questions. There's a telephone number down below on the screen. What I invite you to do is go ahead and get your phone. Go get your phone and call me. Call my office. It costs you nothing initially to talk with my office and to talk with me about your baby's story. When you contact my office and you talk with my secretary, be sure to leave a date and a time so you can get on my calendar. Tell them that you want to get on my calendar to talk with us about what you have going on. Also, make sure that you have a working email. Having a good email address, that's something that is important too, just in case we have to contact you through email. One more thing before I get out of here. I practice law here in the state of Maryland, and I know from time to time, because this video is on the internet, it's on social media apps, it's on platforms, I cannot control who is going to pick up their phone and call me. And like I said, from time to time, I'll have individuals who will call us and they are in the United States, but they're not necessarily in Maryland. And if that's you, if you're not in Maryland, but you call me and you are in the United States, understand that we have to use what we call co-counsel or local counsel. In other words, an attorney in your state. And that's something that we can look to, work to help you on. But I just want to make sure that you understand that co-counsel or local counsel aspect of things if you are not here in the state of Maryland. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here in the state of Maryland at Boston Law Group, LLC. We'll talk with you next time. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day.